Cadence? Was there a cadence in what I just did? What is a cadence? Why should you know what a cadence is? How does it make us a bass player? Isn't that just a job for composers? Isn't that just a job for music snobs? Well, that's a discussion for another day. But hello, fellow bassists, and welcome back to my Bass Player University. In my last class that I had, I brought up this topic of cadences, and I actually played some examples, particularly from classical music, not because we actually really take that route very often in the class. We are focused on what this does, and this doesn't technically do classical music. At least it didn't for the first however many years you want to classify classical music for. But I wanted to raise a very important point that really isn't discussed enough. And that is when you are trying to catch a song on the fly, if you are writing your own bass line, so to speak, when asked, or maybe at a jam session, there's no bass line to listen for. So what are you listening for? You're listening for the form. You're listening for the song to tell you when it's time to go back home to one, whatever one may be. Let's say I think I was in A flat. Yeah, I was. So let's say we have A flat, nice solid A flat major, triad. Let's say we venture from this triad. That triad is 1 in A flat. Now we have new information. As soon as you leave home, as soon as you leave 1, things get tense. Things get more harmonically dissonant, really. At the end of the day, that's the best word to describe it. And if any of this is fresh material for you, brand new, if any of this is hazy, kind of know it, kind of don't, leave a comment, go to my website, join my email list. There's a link in the show notes as well, of course. Have a talk about it. I'll certainly answer a question or two when I can. There are certain questions that really can only be answered by joining class. But that's the whole point of all this. So, let's say we're in 1. Little pentatonic major thing. Staying on the 1. Now we're at the 4. Going back to 1's kind of like a blues. No idea what's happening. We'll just find out. And then finally, we're going to the 5 now. Mixolydian mode. And then finally, so that was a bass line that had melodic elements. And I'm just making it up on the fly, as I always do here at the Bass Player University YouTube. But I made an important point. Hopefully, even though I was talking over it, I was able to guide your ear to the fact that I had left 1, went to a different area, what would be called a predominant, as a matter of fact. I went back to 1, then I went to 5. 5 is kind of like a final destination for chord progressions. And by knowing that you're there, you now know that there's a cadence on its way. As you saw in the thumbnail, a finish line. We hit 5, we come back to 1. And this can help you at least latch on to most of the song's information that you're trying to learn or play on the fly. Because if you know what key you're in, let's say you're in A flat, place yourself, plant yourself in that key position wise. I'm actually in 3rd position, even though I'm on the 4th fret. Pointer is position. Remember that. We get somewhere, and then we get home. That's what all songs do, even if they don't go to this very crucial 5 chord. 5 chord meaning the 5th note in the scale getting its own chord that is not the 1 chord. Because 5 exists in the 1 chord, as a matter of fact, as the 5th. A whole nother topic for a whole nother day. And I don't want this to be a mouthful. You really should just use your ear. That's the point. The point of me using some classical information in my last class was the same reason. I was telling them, don't listen to the bass necessarily. Let the song tell you when this cadence has happened, when you hit the finish line. And while it wasn't necessarily a entire actual stopping point in the song, cadences can happen in the middle of songs. Cadences simply being 5 brings you back to 1. Usually. There's exceptions, of course. Melodies can guide you here as well. Let's shift our attention to maybe E major. Let's see if we can just do something that makes sense melodically. Whoops. Little flip-flops here and there. What are you going to do? So, did that go where you expected? Did it tell you when it was finished? Did my mistake ruin the path? Or was the information still relatively obvious? Making a flub or two, as I've said in previous episodes, is not the end of the world. And if your musical gesture, if your intention is there, the information will pass its way to the listener. Keep in mind that this can help you actively listen as you're playing bass. If there is a melody present, or even a drum beat, because drum beats and drumming can have cadences as well. They have their own styles of cadence that don't relate to harmony like what I'm discussing here. Bottom line is, if you latch yourself onto a key, you have your 1 and you have your 5. If you can get to those notes and even name them, you can have potentially half or maybe even more. Not of all the harmonic information, but at least of the path. Okay, so I caught this thing, maybe it's like 8 measures before we set up that 5 chord. I know where the 5 is, I'll go there. Now I know we're coming back. Picture the way a chord chart may look. Double dot, double line, meaning repeats. And you get to the end, you hit that double dot, that double line, and then it starts it back over again. This is how you know. Allow the music to speak to you, and you will probably get it much faster than if you're really focused on, okay, it sounds minor, gotta do minor, make my hand shape perfect. A, is it G? Is it F sharp? I don't know. Catch the 1. Listen for the cadence. The cadence can tell you when the cycle returns. And you can feel more comfortable right away. At least hitting 1 where it belongs, so that the band feels relatively comfortable with what's going on if you're not totally in line with it yet. And I'm talking about on the first time through. Any jam session, any studio session, any song you've never heard. And this is why it's important to play along with stuff you've never heard before. The most important thing you can do. I hope this gave you some food for thought. Please do visit my website. Please do join my email list. Send me an email anytime. Questions, comments. My phone number is on the website as well. Call me, message me. Let me know where you are as a bass player. Are my videos giving you some inspiration? Are they giving you something to think about? Hopefully my weekly emails are giving you tips, inspiration, food for thought, direction, potentially even sparking some light bulbs that were off or never turned on before. And last but not least, I offer 3 different price packages for the university. So let me know. And I hope to see you at the next class.